Welcome everybody to another isolation edition of the CGA podcast. I'm your host Sam Hall and I'm back with you again with my man, as always, Nick Daines. So we've just chatted to our guest and we kind of just got straight into it. We didn't even have a chance to do our intro. It just went quickly. It starts off and it just goes and goes and goes and it's brilliant. But today we have on our special guest. He's fought on Kasai, he's fought on EBI, he's double champ in Polaris, double weight champ in Polaris. It's probably, me and Nick were just saying, he's probably the number one competitor from the UK at the moment. It's Ashley Williams. I hope you all enjoy. Oos!
Oos! Everywhere's a trek, right?
Yeah, that's actually a big issue that we find is the fact that obviously competing and stuff, like all the guys like, oh, where should I compete? And I'm like, well, you're going to have to travel. Like, it's just no two ways about it because we've got like grip grappling in Cardiff. That runs 2-3 times a year. Apart from that, you're going to have to go Bristol or further, which is, 2+ hours then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon to Swansea from us is getting on for 4.5, 5 hours.
More than that, right?
Depending on how you get around London.
Yeah.
If you go right around M25 and whatever, you 4.5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think when we did the English, it was about 5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long trek, isn't it?
It is a mission. You find that being a right like pain then in general.
Yeah, I actually rather fly to a European country and compete than I would drive into London. Get a hotel and compete in like an IBJJF London Open or the English Open, for example, because hotels are so expensive. It's mad crazy trying to get into London at all. So I may as well just go to the nearest airport, like my side of London, and just fly to a European city.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually easier.
What airport's that? It says there's stuff that is Cardiff in there. Is it Cardiff?
I'd fly from Bristol Airport sometimes, but most of the time I'm driving to is it Heathrow is the furthest, closest side to me from London?
Luton?
Gatwick. I don't tend to go from Luton much. I go from Gatwick for a bit. Yeah.
So it's those. They're all a nightmare though.
They are.
I'd rather going into London is just an absolute mission from wherever you are. Like,
it is. And
we were talking about this, weren't we, Nick? We were saying because I've never trained at the Carlsons in London.
Haven't you?
And I was saying to Nick, we should go up there and train. And Nick was like, it takes about 2.5 hours just to get there from where.
I get like messages quite often. People are like, if you're ever up my way and you want to drop me on a train, that'd be awesome. I'm like, trust me, I will never be up that way, just generally. There's no way casually I would be like, I'll just stroll around London. Like, it's not going to happen.
It's on our doorstep.
Yeah, not even for us. 50 miles drive from outskirts of London and like boroughs in London. But if we can get the the fast train from Ashford into St Pancras, King's Cross is like 40 minutes. But you go into that side, St Pancras, it's another like hour to come across, or you go the slow train into Charing Cross, and then that's like hour 10, and then like half hour round to the bank across the Hammersmith.
It's always disgusting to get into London. I just can't stand it.
Yeah.
Have you guys trained with Dickie or Simon Hayes?
Yeah, both. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Nice. I've only met him like a handful of times. I met Simon and Dickie. But like they seem like super nice guys, and obviously they're very talented in jiu-jitsu as well,
Yeah, good. They're good guys. Yeah, I have. Yeah, they're brilliant.
It's they were like the kind of main two at Carlson's in London, and then the where I started training in Tunbridge, which I think now is called Carlson's Kent, with Dave Broughton and guys over there. Like then they kind of were an offshoot, and then we're now another offshoot of that.
Yeah. Where's Sam Gibson based?
Surrey, martial
arts. Sorry, he isn't Surrey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Like there is, like you said, there's a lot of Carlsons in this kind of bit. I think Carlson's in the kind of way it's mapped out is they'll only like affiliate clubs will be people who come through and got their black belts via another club.
That's one thing that we've locked down the last few years, is just not affiliating to anyone who's not a direct like lineage from us, you know, because it's just never like the same product, you know, like it's just not the same quality in the gym and stuff. And it's definitely important to keep like your brand at the like standard it's meant to be, you know.
Yeah. Because
what do you think? Just I got a quick on that. It's because I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because like lots of lots of the big brands as such, you know, like jiu-jitsu clubs and stuff will kind of affiliate, you know, whoever wants to start a gym in an area they're not in, they'll allow affiliation or whatever, which is to do with I think to do with like a payment, you know, utilizing the brands they've got to attract people to come and train there, but not necessarily following like a very strict, like regimented teaching program and stuff. So they might not know what they're going to get from these places.
Yeah, like I find it bizarre because like one of them, probably the most obvious examples of that is Gracie Barra. Like we were Gracie Barra before ourselves as well, yeah. So we were Gracie Barra and we left, for financial reasons. But we didn't leave because we were paying an affiliate fee. We left because we felt like we were paying an affiliate fee and they weren't actually giving us anything.
Right.
Which
evaluating what you were getting.
Yeah, which was the issue I found. Because I'm not actually against affiliation fees and stuff. I think that at the end of the day, running a gym and a successful one at that, you know, especially if you've got good business models, good programs in place, you know, all the legal things in place, you know, which a lot of gyms do still overlook, which is crazy. Even to now, like even to this day, a lot of gyms just pop up mats on the floor and just teach, and they've got no legality about what they're doing at all. You know, I think like if you affiliate to someone and you know they've spent the last 8 years growing that business model and programs, and then you come in and you go, oh, I'd love to affiliate to you, can I just have all your information? It's like, what do you mean? That's 8 years of my life's work. Like, I don't think an affiliate fee is that much to pay for that. Do you know what I mean? Like Gracie Barra, like, I think if you're closer to the Gracie Barra main gyms, I do actually think you get full value out of them. See, because they're like marketing strategies and they like their pure branding is one of the strongest I've ever seen. You know, like it's incredible how the gyms all look. Like I compare it to McDonald's. You know, it's literally as if like you can guarantee a similar quality and the same stuff in every location. Where a lot of other gyms, obviously, because they don't follow stricter things, which is nothing wrong with as well.
Or maybe just don't have like guidelines in place for that.
Exactly. So yes, some just go like, we'll affiliate, but you can do what you want. I actually think those are totally pointless. I don't remotely see the point in affiliating with someone if the product or the ethos isn't actually carried across. So like I'm not actually like I know there's a lot of hate for Gracie Barra and stuff on, especially on the underground, and it kills me because I'm like, man, like people are trying to earn a living like out of jiu-jitsu, you know, like, and I know a lot of the costs of some of the GB schools isn't out of their decision. It's from the higher end of Gracie Barra, which fortunately or unfortunately is from America. In America, their business sense is just like 10 years ahead of ours.
That's it.
Like when you go to America, like even when I've gone like for day passes and it's more than we charge for a month of unlimited training.
It must be dependent on where you go though, right? In America, I imagine you pay a load, but if you travel to San Diego, you're going to be paying.
Obviously, I've been really fortunate in the last few years. I've traveled and trained in San Diego, for example, and a few other gyms, and I've actually been allowed to train for free quite often. Especially in the last few years, which has been really nice. But when I was a brown belt, I actually did a very similar trip, and I went to a lot of gyms, and I was paying upwards like of $40, $50, maybe $60 just for a day, you know, and we charge that for almost a month's training.
That's what we chatted to someone else about that as well, like Rob guy in Canada, and he'll go across to San Diego to like train, but like much more on a hobbyist level. You know, so he wants to still go and try these gyms and stuff. Go to Atos, go to wherever. And he was like, like the cheapest he was paying was $30 for a day.
I I don't think Americans are crazy. I just think obviously they've got a lot of value, and especially they like, you know, like when you like the seminar fees out there is way more. Like everything about what they do is they just put a lot of value on themselves and they put a lot of value on what they've done.
Yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, because of the way jiu-jitsu was introduced to Britain, I think a lot of it was viewed as a hobby for a lot of people. You know, I remember back when I first started trying to make a living out of teaching, like a load of guys would just get together and spar 3 times a week and just let everyone else just come anyway. And I was like, oh man, like this is hard work, you know, like because some people trying to actually create businesses out of and create gyms and earn a living out of this, and everyone kind of just like, man, we should do more jiu-jitsu. Let's all just get together anyway. I'm like, man, like that's making it very difficult, you know, for people to legitimize the sport.
Yes.
But it's come a long way, you know, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, like watching your progression from like when you know, when you sort of came into the scene in like professional jiu-jitsu sense, you know, you've been incredibly active, like competing all over the place. You know, you look at the names on the list of people you've fought, whether that be in IBJJF tournaments or in, you know.
Yeah, especially since Black Belt, I found that like I've been disheartened sometimes with like a fairly 50-50 record. But when I look back over, like when I sometimes go back on my BJ Heroes, for example, and have a look at the list of people I've fought, you know, there's only 1 or 2 people on there which I feel like it was like they're 1 out of 10, you know, like as in like I would have beaten them the other 9 times, but it wasn't that day, you know. But everyone else is just like they're world class, you know, they are brilliant athletes, and it's just incredible to be on the mats with those guys and trying to put myself in the mix. I've been really grateful, really of the opportunity. Like I've always said since day one, I've never. I actually started jiu-jitsu to compete. See, like I was doing combat jiu-jitsu before, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted to compete. You know, like full contact. And my coach actually said, "Oh, why don't you try? I think it's like a Chris Reese Academy, the other side of Swansea. They compete." And I was like, "Oh, cool! I'll just give it a go." And I went along, and I think I competed like the week after and got wrecked. But then every time there was a competition, I was like, "Yeah, let's go." You know, like, and then like maybe I won the British, I think white or blue belt. And Chris was like, "Oh, why don't you try this now?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then like I'd win Hereford, and you go, "Oh, now try the English." And I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, like I'll just go compete," you know. And then he's like, "Oh, just go do the Europeans, you know, go do Worlds." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right," like, because I don't really like if you're going to take a competition seriously, you can't really be that afraid, you know, to put yourself out there. And I think that's one thing like a lot of athletes can't get over is the fact that like the win-loss in their head is like an ultimatum, where it can't be, you know, like you're gonna get disheartened when you lose for sure. But I said when I look back at my black belt record, like it does frustrate me at some of the losses I've had. But then like I've looked at some of the wins I've had, and like if I stopped right now, that was probably more than I thought I was going to achieve anyway. You know, it's really cool. You know.
Yeah, really cool. And again, like it's funny. You always put a lot of. We were talking about this as well because we've got some guys who are very similar in attitude. Just go out and compete wherever. Yeah, we'll just go and compete. We'll just go and compete, and it never seems to put them off. The fact that
I think it's like a not necessarily generational, but it's certainly moved on. Like from you know the mid 2000s when like when they, you know, more gyms were starting to be set up around, you know, the UK and whatnot. Potentially, you know, you'd hardly ever see purple belt, hardly ever brown belt or black belts competing at these.
Oh no, I remember when I was a purple belt. I was flipping out. It was almost 10 years ago when I was a purple belt. When I was a purple belt, and I had I always remember it because it was my busiest year competition wise. As like right now, I try to stay active, but it's only like 10, 12 matches a year because they're all on professional tournaments. But back then, obviously, I was just doing any tournament I could get my hands on, and I had like 58 matches in a year at purple belt, and it included the Welsh, Irish, Scottish, English, British pro. I did everything I could, you know. And I only lost 4 matches the whole year. And but I was, you know, I drove from Swansea to Scotland to do the Scottish Open.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, as in we would just compete whatever we could. We were like, but like now I find this mad because there's so many gyms, so many tournaments.
Yeah, so
and
many.
I got some guys in my gym who are like, oh, I really want to be a full-time competitor. I'm like, oh, cool, compete then. They're like, oh, is there any tournament this weekend? I'm like, there's like 10.
Yeah,
like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Like back when I had that like 58 matches in a year, I legitimately hit like almost every single tournament. Yeah, like, it was. I was driving as far as I could. If it was just for one match, I would drive 4 hours, have one match, and drive back 4 hours. You know, like.
And you just see Ollie Geddes at every tournament as well, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Ollie was always like the guy ahead, like the kind of guy ahead of me and like Ross Nichols and Dan Strauss and all that. I think that he was kind of the first guy who was doing as much competing as possible, and in particular, you know, like international. You know, like that's where I still think, for example, in my gym is still quite poor. Is the amount of people go international to compete. But Ollie, man, was just doing it all the time, you know, and obviously refs now, and he still does it. And I had a really interesting conversation with Ollie. I was I think I was in Zurich, and I fought this guy called Ilky Bullet and this guy called Dan something, like. But I was in the bullpen with Ollie, and Ollie was a great. I think he might have been a black belt or a brown belt at the time. And he was like, "Oh, I've seen your division today," and I was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, because I was a brown belt, I was obviously looking forward to compete. And he was like, "Man, I won't want to be in that division." And I was like, "Bro, I'm actually about to walk out right now to compete." He's like, "Ah, man, those guys are tough." And I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? You know?" And I went out fourth, and I beat like 2 guys in a row, and then I fought Ilky in the final, I think it was, and Ilky beat me by a guard pass. And to be fair, Ollie afterwards, he was like, "Oh man, that was a wicked performance, blah blah blah." And then he said, "See what you should do is you start going down like sort of going down like the refereeing route." And I was like, "Oh well, you know, I'm only like, I don't know, I was like 22 at the time." And in my head, I was like, I don't think I'm really there yet, you know, because where Ollie got into it, where he was ahead of the curve for a lot of the UK guys, obviously he was a little bit older than a lot of the UK guys as well, you know. So I think the route he took was brilliant for him because it allowed him, where there wasn't much money in the sport when he was doing it, to be able to do what we're doing now. And he definitely led the way in that respect. But he was like, "Man, when you get the ref in, get as many tournaments as you can, you know, they'll fly you around the place." And I was like, I love being at home with my family, you know, on a Sunday day. And I was like, I don't think I'm there yet. I was like, I'm going to train as hard as I can. And I still view myself trying to get competitively to the top of the field, you know, which was, you know, I wanted to compete as hard and as much as I could. But I felt like settling to be like a ref to get as many matches as possible wasn't something that at 22 you should probably consider, you know, like it's a bit early on then. But I just remember, I look up to him all the time. Like, I thought he was brilliant back in the day. You know, I thought he was fantastic. Obviously, he's doing a lot of masters now. Because he still competed quite a lot. And I still think he did. I think he did Adult Worlds last year.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure he did. I think he did. I think he went out first, or maybe second round. But I think he did.
Yeah, he must have like the most black belt matches of anyone in the UK.
Well, I just remember him. But it's just everywhere you went, like, he was there. Like every single.
Yeah. Oh, every time I went in, I actually fought in a Hereford before. I'm pretty sure he fought in it, and Nick Brooks.
Yeah.
Nick Brooks fought in it as well. And I was like, this is mad. Like, because I was just a kid. I was like 15 on a white belt. And I'm pretty sure we were all in like the same division. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I knew nothing about jiu-jitsu really at the time. And then, like, you know, 5 years gone past, and like I thought about it, and I was like, shit, these guys are getting black belts now. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's insane because the UK jiu-jitsu has just come on like an incredible amount.
Oh man,
it's insane. I don't know how long you guys have been obviously training or whatever, you know, but compared to like, I think I've been training 12 years now, and I said at that time at Purple Belt, when I was halfway through my training time, I hit almost every tournament. When I first started, you know, every tournament was like 6 tournaments. You know, so it's insane, you know. So it's just, I just love the what the UK guys have got now in front of them, to be able to do. And then you see like so many good guys coming through younger who compete in those absolute monsters, like that Tyrese, and a couple of other young guys. Jed Hugh, for example, has just burst on the scene recently. But they've got the platform to do it now.
That's right. I think it's the availability of being able to train more. I mean, I've been doing it 10 years.
Yeah.
And when we started, we literally started in a town hall laying out the mats twice a week. And now we've got like a full-time facility. So it's people who are white belts now have way more access to do a lot more training all the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that when I started.
Chris was actually a purple belt when I started.
Right.
My coach was actually a purple belt.
Yeah.
And I think now, to the fact that we offer, I think it's like 60 classes per week or something we offer. And I think 50 of them are taught by black belts. And, you know, like, and you'll still get someone complain. Like, you'll still get someone say, like, I don't know about this. And you're like, bro,
agree. God.
I was paying the same amount of money you were paying 12 years ago to be taught by a purple belt 3 times a week. Like, what? Like, like the UK is like, it's lucky, you know, like it's so good for the depth of knowledge and the talent, and you don't even need the Brazilian thing anymore. Do you mean?
Not anymore, no.
Which I think is wicked, because, you know, at that time, like, essentially a lot of our better information was always coming from like Braulio through Chris into the club. But now, because we've got active competitors and people who go train elsewhere and study online and research,
guys like yourself.
You know, like there's actually, I got a few guys in my gym who study more than I do, but obviously my proficiency in performing the techniques once they show them to me is ahead of them because of the skill difference already. But it's just so good to have people who like geek out, you know, and love the new stuff, you know. So I got like particularly my brother and one of his students, Jamie Dix, they watch just hours and hours. Like I got them a Keenan online subscription like 3 months ago, and they're like burning through it. Like, they're loving it. Like they just watching hours, and they're like, when we get back to sparring after lockdown, I'm gonna do this guard to you, I'm gonna do this to you, I'm gonna sweep you with this. And I'm like, yeah, boys, we'll have to wait and see. But that's what I wanted, you know. I want them to get more information, because the higher they elevate their jiu-jitsu, the higher I can elevate my jiu-jitsu. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just love it. I just think it's so good, the amount of UK information there is compared to obviously 10, 12 years ago.
So different. It's so different. We used to go. I think Wilson used to come down to Tunbridge. Used to come down every Sunday, and like every other Wednesday night. But if you turn up and then it'd always be like, "Oh, Wilson's not coming tonight," you'd be like, "I'm just doing that." Yeah. And you know, so it's just going to be like, it's going to be a full-on cardio-based class. You're like,
the amount of times back in the day where it's like, all right, guys, I think we'll just have a sparring class tonight. And you're like, I think someone's out of technique for the week. Like my coach, Chris, he used to drive to Birmingham like once every week or once every other week. Just to keep learning jiu-jitsu, you know. And that's one thing, like, I think is did you see like the I don't know if you're part of the group, but someone put up like the amount of Welsh black belts there are. There's like 50 something odd black belts now in Wales.
Wow.
And like without direct you know, it might not be directly like person to person, or it would be like one to the other. But Chris has had an influence on like 46 of those black belts or something.
Wow.
You know? Which is because he was like the first person in Wales to kind of get the ball rolling on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that's one of the things, like I said, like we speak about my coach all the time, like with the students and other people. And obviously, like if you see me post, I always post and thank my brother and my coach Chris, you know. Because like I don't know who you guys view as your coach, because obviously loads of different people view it different ways, like the top of the lineage maybe. Because like I class myself as Chris Reese black belt, not a Braulio Steamer black belt. You know. But
your direct coach, I think that's how I would see it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just because it's who was had the biggest influence on your game, innit? You know, for the longest time, and that's why I think now, even like if me and Chris roll, you know, it's not like super mad competitive. It is competitive, but I could, you know, I probably would best him 99% of the time. But if I wasn't, then he should be the competitor, you know, which is what I say to a lot of people. They're like, oh, how'd you get on with Chris? I'm like, you can't be for real now. Like, I'm competing against top 10 in the world, and Chris is just a middle-aged dude who loves jiu-jitsu and has got a family and everything. Like, you know, but when I speak about him, I was like, I'm super grateful of my coach, because can you imagine what jiu-jitsu there wouldn't be in Wales if he wasn't there?
Yeah.
I said, out of the 50-odd black belts in Wales, he's a direct, like, route.
Well, that like
off, you know?
What you're talking about there is what I think, where I think a lot of the outside of, say, Birmingham, London, you know, and then you go much further north, Lake District and stuff like that. But then it's the people the far smaller amount of people that will go there and then come out, and then they need other people. Can't go there every day. They can go there, and then they need a club near where they live to start that, and then that shoots out again. And
for sure. That's what's happening. And even like you know, we had like people leave us through affiliation disputes and other stuff, you know, over the years. But it's still mad to see how much good jiu-jitsu there is in Wales. And to be fair, like I said, I credit Chris, and that's why people say like, oh, would you ever move to San Diego to like train full time, or like would you ever move to New York and train full time? I'm like, no, I'm cool. I just keep doing what we're doing. You know, Chris is my head coach. My brother researches all the time. I've got mad jiu-jitsu coming into the gym all the time. So like, and it's working. Do you mean it's working? Like, I'm not trying to change what doesn't even, you know, it's not broken.
Argue with it. You can't argue with it.
No, like I feel like what we're doing is working, you know, and that's one thing, you know, like I actually had a message the other day. Someone asked me about, oh, I want to compete seriously, but I'm not sure if my gym is the right gym because there's not as many full-time competitors at the gym. I'm like, bro, like that's the case for 99% of people who compete, you know, because like be the first. That's what I was just telling you, just be the first. Like, don't look to change to another gym because there's good competitors there. Just be the first good competitor in your gym. Because if you do that, then it'll just filter from you, and the next you'll have like 10 good competitors from your gym.
That's right, exactly.
You know, that's why I'd never leave my gym. I always say I'd never leave my gym. You know, if I lost worlds and I never ever won a world title, I'd be like, okay, like, but I achieved what I achieved with the people I achieved it with, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's so cool. What was it? So I take it you've definitely been out to these places like San Diego, trained out there.
Yeah.
What was the difference? What did you find was the biggest difference from like clubs out there to what we've got here in the UK?
The only thing I thought was a big difference in the USA compared to UK training was the generic vibe of how, like, the whole atmosphere of the gym took being, like, competitively good at jiu-jitsu. And that's, like, even though obviously the mat was filled with a lot of hobbyists, it almost didn't feel like that. Right.
So it's because almost like it's all geared towards competitors.
Yeah, well, I think they all pay premium prices. You know, they all there's massive competition everywhere, and but the American culture itself is far more generated towards commitment to something. You know, like I've watched loads of documentaries since being on lockdown about like quarterbacks, cheerleaders, everything, any sports in America. I watch quite a lot of. If you watch our Last Dance,
I'm desperate to see it though.
You've got to watch that. It's incredible, you know. But when you see the progression these guys do, like it is. I spoke to someone about this the other day. I said it's not disheartening, but it's hard to grasp because imagine you're 25 and you watch The Last Dance and you're like, oh man, I could commit really hard and get good at a sport. But like Michael Jordan was like the 3rd draft pick coming out of college, so it wasn't like he didn't suck and then become amazing. Like he didn't like become late, like amazing late. And the more you watch loads of these programs, the more you realize how much like the parents in America are like, right, you want to be good at American football? Well, you're going there every single day, and that is what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I found in America is even the kids, like every day after school, they were at the gym. Yeah. And it was the only sport they did. Do you mean they didn't just try everything? Like the turnover we get in terms of kids quitting and then new kids joining and then kids will come back after 2-3 years. Yeah. I genuinely don't believe that happens as much in America.
Right.
Well, we had Elizabeth Clay on, you know her, just won brown belt, double gold at the Worlds. No.
Oh, okay.
So we're chatting to her, and she used to be, before she's only 19 now, but before she took up jiu-jitsu, I think she took it up when she was about 13, 14.
Yep.
But before that, she was like training to be a gymnast, basically, from age 3.5. So when they moved to Alaska. I think I'm getting this right. It was a couple of weeks ago. So she was looking at schools and what the program would be to continue the gymnastics training, like, because it's the point is I'm doing this training and I want to do this like in the Olympics sort of thing. Like that's the mentality.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they'd move across state lines. Yeah. They would move to different schools to get better at the thing that they want to be elite at. Yeah.
They go, we can offer you 20 hours a week. She's like, no, I need to do 90 or there's no point. Yeah. So she stops and just goes and does a different sport where she can train like all the time.
Yeah. But that's like, I also like there are problems in the American culture in terms of that. Like obviously there's other TV series which highlight stuff like that, you know, with like the athletes being like above the law and above the educational system and all that, which I think is one of the biggest issues out there. But
so much money there, isn't there?
Exactly, that's the thing. In terms of their commitment to the sport though, like you wonder why America is starting to overtake Brazil in terms of competitive ability within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
It's because they treat it like they treat it professionally. I mean, they treat it to get elite at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, like, if America got big into rugby and got rid of American football, we'd be stuffed.
Yeah. It'll be up there with football, like soccer, as they would say it in the States. They'll be up there one day.
They will,
if they just turned around tomorrow and said, right, from now on, soccer's going to be our thing.
It's getting bigger though, isn't it, over there?
A couple of years and a lot of the rest of the world would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Even the rugby teams now, like, it's not too bad, but you start putting in like a few people in another couple of decades, then you're gonna be in the World Cup, you know?
Yeah. Well, obviously, like I know almost every UK athlete would say the same, but if you speak to like, you know, you spoke to Jamie Hughes, I'm pretty sure if you spoke to Theon and any other like Ross and all them, I'm pretty sure you spoke to them at like the amount of times they were being told to get a real job and like that's not a career. Like I've been sat at like family events and people will tell me, oh, so when you get a real job? I'm like, you are mad. Like what I'm pursuing is a legitimate thing. Like I really am trying like to create something that would be A, financially viable, and B, that I will compete at a high level at, you know.
I guess it's hard for them to see the big picture if there's no one
100%.
If there's no one from this country that's reached that level of, like, you know, like you're saying, like Michael Jordan or someone like that. It's easy to go, Michael Jordan's done these amazing things in basketball, let's play basketball because he can do it, I can do it.
100%.
No one's got like that millions or earned that massive amount from that sport, especially at the time. Like, it's hard. I mean, I know it's more viable now, but at the time, people just can't put two and two together.
I get parents say to me like, "Oh, my kid wants to do jiu-jitsu like you do when they're older." I'm like, "Brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah, like, why is that? Why do you think that's like humorous? Like, it's not. Like, you could legitimately create a viable life from jiu-jitsu, you know." And what I find mad is obviously the UK. I don't know what the minimum wage up by you guys is, but you know, full time down by me, you're probably earning £1,200 a month, something like that. Like, you could earn that from teaching jiu-jitsu and enjoy your life a lot more. Actually quite comfortably as well. You know, to earn minimum wage, teaching jiu-jitsu is not super difficult. You know, in the gym we're in, we got 10 coaches who all do it full time, who all love it. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, man, if you want to quit your job, your 9 to 5, like obviously in America, the idea is like the American dream. You know, everyone can pursue and do whatever they want to do. In the UK, I feel like everyone's like, right, you got to go to school, you got to go to university, then you got to come out and get a 9 to 5 job, and you've got to hate that job. Like, it's not okay to like your job, but they're like, well, you have to get 9 to 5, and it's going to be something you dislike, because that way then we can live for the weekends. I'm like, you are mad. Like,
so have you kind of always had this attitude, even from, because when did you start? You were young when you started jiu-jitsu, right?
So I did combat jiu-jitsu from the age of 4 till 14, 15. Then I started Brazilian jiu-jitsu when I was about 15. So like I kind of switched from one to the other. When I started Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I was actually playing rugby, football. I was in the local areas like gymnastics squad team.
Yeah.
I was doing everything,
Yeah.
and within about 6 months, I think I'd quit everything. I was just doing jiu-jitsu all the time.
Yeah.
But I'd always planned on, opening a gym. I always planned on having my own gym, but originally it would have been a combat jiu-jitsu gym. I would have taken over the gym that I was in, which actually that's what my brother did. My brother took over the combat jiu-jitsu gym that we were in from kids, and the person who ran it, a female called Kelly, she emigrated to Australia, so my brother took over that gym, and that was whilst we were in university. But I started teaching Brazilian jiu-jitsu as a blue belt. Just like an odd class here and there, helping out with kids' classes and that. And then when I went to university and got my purple belt, I was 18, got my purple belt, and then I started just teaching full classes, because back, even now I think a purple belt teaching fundamental classes is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's totally acceptable. So I was teaching classes back then. And I did university. I actually did astrophysics in university. Which I hated, with a passion. But I didn't I just wanted to do jiu-jitsu all the time, but I still had my family kind of giving me get a backup plan and all this. So my plan was to do a physics degree, then do PGCE and become a maths or physics teacher because they get half the year off. So I was like, at least for half the year, I could just do jiu-jitsu full time. I was like, so I'll work half the year and then I'll do jiu-jitsu full time for half the year. And at least that'll give me some opportunity to become successful, and I'll try my best to do it that way. When I finished university and I was like, do you know what? I'm only teaching 2-3 classes a week. I moved back in with my mum. I was like, look, mum, I tell you, if you give me a year, if you give me 1 year and I cannot earn £1,000 a month teaching jiu-jitsu, then you can sign me up for the PGC. I mean, you can put me on the course and I'll become a teacher and I'll do the whole life from 9 to 5 and hate myself for the next 30-40 years. Do you know what I mean? So I just made a deal with her and she was like, right, cool, fine. So my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, she actually lived with us in my mum's house. So it was me, my brother, both our girlfriends living in my mum's house, her partner and his 2 kids as well. So it was a full house. But we all just do jiu-jitsu all the time whenever we could. And I worked there a part-time job when I was back in school. I worked in TK Maxx for 8 hours a weekend. And I just remember coming out of uni, I was like, that's the worst 8 hours of my life every week. So I was like, I just never want to go back and be employed under someone else. I just don't want to do it. So I just started teaching jiu-jitsu in various locations. At one point, I was driving an hour to teach a class. Then I drive 40 minutes to another location to teach a class. And I was just doing that around the valleys of Wales, just doing £20 an hour teaching jiu-jitsu. And, it started adding up. And then eventually my coach, Chris, offered me a job teaching in the gym. And he said, look, why don't you come in and be, a coach with me? So we did that. And he paid me super fair, to be absolutely, it was super nice for him what he did, because it was a great offer considering I wasn't earning that anyway, So he paid me to coach jiu-jitsu, and over the 3 years then after that, when I became a brown and then a black belt, we started I was like, oh Chris, why don't we do this in the gym? We could expand this matted area. We could maybe change the change rooms. When I started traveling to America, I was coming back. I was like, oh look, they're doing this in America. We got to do this. So we moved the kids' classes from 6 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We did a full swiping system where there was no pay per class anymore. And we just gradually started just creeping over to the more business side of jiu-jitsu. And when people talk about it, I think they talk about it as if it's a negative thing. But I think professionalism within an academy environment, it's what they're actually paying for. I mean, we've got showers in our gym, we've got a sauna in our gym. We're actually adding a conditioning section to our gym. We're going to try and add a yoga studio to our gym. I mean, so we're always looking to advance the gym. We actually recently got a cryo chamber put in the gym as well.
Oh, amazing!
It's it's really, really we're really picking up what we believe is the bar for what the gym should provide.
I think that's brilliant. I think and all that kind of stuff is that things that you've seen other gyms do,
for sure. Every time I travel, I always even if I don't train, I remember once I went to compete and I bust my foot in the Pan Ams in the finals in Nogi. a brown belt. And I couldn't train anywhere, but I was like, look, we'll just go around and visit gyms. We'll just go sit there, watch the class, get a feel for their environment, and see what they're doing. And it was one of the biggest like U-turns in my life, because it really made me realize what jiu-jitsu could be.
Yes.
Not like this hobby of everyone pays £5, and then hopefully at the end of the month I can pay my bills and put food on the table. Do you mean like how do you expect a coach to live like that? You know, it's not really. You wouldn't expect anyone else to do that in a different line of work. You know.
No.
So when I came back from there, I started adding all these ideas, and I said, look, you know, I got a bit of savings, I can put a bit of money towards it. And then Chris was like, how about we be business partners? You know, when he offered me 20% of the gym initially, and then like 2 years after that, he was like, oh, look, should we just go 50-50? And I was like, and he didn't ask me to buy it in or anything. He literally was like, look, let's just be business partners, and let's run the gym together. So, you know, it took years and years and years, and slowly but surely just added my ideas in. But now you know, it's just great because I own a gym. You know, we've got a couple of 100 students, and everything's going quite well. But it's just about obviously now keeping the competition element up whilst growing the gym. I think that's a lot of athletes, you know, like I don't know if you saw recently one of Atos's guys left them to go train at Legion full time. D'Angelo something. So I definitely believe like that could be down to the fact that like a lot of athletes, although I understand the pursuit of being a world champion and everything else, like one day you're gonna need something else. And I say this all the time to my guys, whether they fight MMA or they do jiu-jitsu full time or anything. I say, look, why don't you just start coaching one class a week? You'll coach one class a week, and because then one day when you decide maybe this isn't for you anymore, you could open a gym and you already know the ins and outs, you know everything you're going to do, and you're ready to go. Do you mean? And you know, in 10 years' time, there might be 30 gyms in your area.
There will be.
Like the saturation and everything. Do you mean? So like, if you don't start planning now, by the time you come around to the point where you go, do you know, I can't compete anymore and make a living. Like, what are you left with?
You're so right.
And that's why I think athletes need to take that really serious, and that's why I pushed hard to try and get as a part of a gym or ownership of a gym, because I knew that competitively I would push as hard as I could and achieve what I could, but one day I'm going to want to come down and coach twice a week in a gym, which I've helped build up from scratch, and earn a living, you know, without having to put my body through hell every day.
So it must have been like you're exactly right, because otherwise, if you don't kind of have that kind of plan ahead, you end up just being the guys in the church hall laying the mats out, just going in and fighting each other, aren't you? Just have a sparring.
You know, you could do the eggs in one basket. Like, for example, like one of the stories, the easiest person to pick for this is Conor McGregor, and I personally don't like him as a person. I don't think like he's done the sport he didn't do the sport what he could have done to sport, because like I think what he personifies from himself is not actually the work ethic he puts in behind closed doors.
I agree.
And like that's the thing I struggle with, because you get a lot, like when Conor McGregor came on the scene, our MMA program started to boom, and I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll make my millions fighting MMA. I was like, you don't realize how far that is away. Like, because when you're fighting, you know, these local shows, you get a couple of £100. You fight a local show, you're £500. If you do it 3 times a year, that's £1,500. That's like a month's living for somebody. You know, so you have to have something else going for you, you know. But a lot of the guys will be like, nah, you know, I'll just live on my bare minimums, bare means, and I will just train and put all my eggs in one basket, you know. And they'll always use Conor McGregor as an example. They're like, oh, that's what he did. Yeah, but his skill set is unbelievable. Like, his skill set is truly unbelievable. And that's one thing I have respect for Conor for, is the way he talks is great business. The way he fights is great skill. But what the younger people are seeing is the way he talks and the way he posts
and how he acts.
But his work ethic's insane.
It's insane.
See the block. It's like watching an episode of Grand Designs where they spend 5 years building a house and it's an absolute hell, and you watch it in an hour and you go, cool, I could do that.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. But it's the same as any other profession where you're like, someone comes into the game late, and then wants this like Cinderella story,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, they're like 1 in a billion or something. Because if you took a look at every other professional sports person who was successful, generally they were successful all the way through.
Yeah.
Like your Michael Jordans and your other guys, Pippen, when you watch him in the documentary, all these guys were killing it.
Yeah.
And like, when you I don't know if you watch any documentaries on singers and stuff. I watch loads of stuff.
I'm not watching them all.
Yeah, but they'd be like, oh, I remember when she was 4, all she did is like sing around the kitchen with a hairbrush for hours and hours and hours. If you're 28 and you go, oh, I just want to be a singer now, like, but bro, like, that's just, it's not that easy.
No.
If everyone could do it, everyone would.
But that's the culture we live in now. Is that things are like easy credit. I want to buy that thing now. I've seen an advert, so I put it on a credit card. Or it's like, I need a new car, so I just do it now. I won't put hard work in. I won't go and save money. I won't do that shit job I don't want to do to save money to do something. You can just do it now and then worry about it later without thinking about it or putting effort in.
I think that's one thing that UK. That's why I actually love going to the US, for example, because I just think their mindset for being like elite or professional it is a little bit ahead of the UK, and the problem is a lot of people in the UK who come back and try to enforce that, they get slated, they get put down because their ideas are different, or like you shouldn't charge for this, you shouldn't do that, like you should be true to the sport. But like things change.
The one thing I'm sure you have watched the Last Chance U, the American footballers going to the university, like when they've
brilliant, yeah.
And NFL is the ideal comparison for this. So, what, like a fraction of 1% or 2% of all of the college, like the elite college players, will make it to the professional level. Like just a tiny fraction. Yet they put in 15 years of work all the way through. And when they're operating on a college level, that is, they get 80,000 people watching them in a weekend. Yeah. But that's amateur. That's their amateur.
The most exploited part of American sport, that is.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And then they get cut. I mean, at the end of it, they've got a university degree, which in America probably costs $300,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. So hopefully they'll be able to get a job or something. But imagine putting all that work and effort, and then it's going, well, you didn't make the cut. And now there isn't really any amateur in American football. We just stopped doing it.
Yeah, I speak to my parents quite a lot, and they say like, "Oh, my kids just started football." I'm like you could never do this experiment, but I do believe if you give me 10 kids at the age of 8 and 10 kids at the age of 8 for football or for jiu-jitsu, and those 10 kids did football, those 10 kids did jiu-jitsu, I think the 10 kids doing jiu-jitsu could almost every single one of them could earn a living out of jiu-jitsu.
Really?
10 kids doing football. Yeah, like, not a brilliant living, like not like running around in $1 million house, but they could definitely earn like enough in a year to have a house. But they love what they do. Like, we recently had a guy who actually quit his job to come and teach full time, and it was less than half his salary what we offered him, and he was like, "Yep, love it." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Man, I just love jiu-jitsu. I just want to be there every day. I want to be doing jiu-jitsu all the time. And also, if the gym grows and there's room to pay me more, great. But if there's not, I currently hate what I do.
Yeah,
I don't like going to work. Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
So like,
but that's probably what, like, I feel like that more than Sam. But I imagine Sam would like to add more to jiu-jitsu. But I would 100% like. Well, if I ever get to a level where I can do teaching jiu-jitsu all the time, I would 100% change careers to do that.
But that's, that's the thing. Like, if you take like a couple of kids and you said, "Look, you just keep doing it until you're older and you'll be able to learn a living," I actually think it's feasible. But because like the numbers of people who do football and rugby and all this, like when you watch like a kid who's kicking football and they're like, "Oh, I'll be the next Ronaldo," and I'm like, like I'd love to tell you right now that's going to be true, and I'm not saying that it's impossible, man. Like, because that's how the next generation of people is born. Is that commitment?
Yes. Gareth Bale and whatnot in Wales. But that you can look
how is jiu-jitsu not considered serious? Yeah. I mean, how could you be like, "Oh, jiu-jitsu is just a hobby," where for my kid is football, they could be the next David
Yeah,
Beckham.
like saying, I'm not going to go to work. I'll just use my benefit to buy a lottery ticket every week.
Yeah, no, but that is what. Yeah, exactly.
The odds are the same.
It just frustrates me that jiu-jitsu is like not considered as.
I think people
serious,
don't understand. People don't understand. Like, and we're used to martial arts in the UK, like being kind of without putting down any, karate and things like that. But, the only ones really, like, you've got judo and taekwondo being Olympic things and with some funding and this and that, but not, like, I wouldn't say, that there's a big history of these kind of martial arts being careers for people.
Yeah,
no, for sure. Like when I bought my first house last year with my wife, and we went to get a mortgage, and they said, "What's your job?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a martial arts instructor." They were on the spot. They were literally like, "Oof." Like, so they're like, so do you just like rent an accommodation where you just go teach out of and put some mats down 3 times a week?
Come to me next time, Ash. Come to me. That's what I do.
Really, yeah.
We do lots of sports people as well. Like,
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that they couldn't take me seriously. And like, and then they went through all the numbers, and they were like, "Oh, could you afford this per month?" And it's where I live is very cheap. So my mortgage is like £280 a month for a 3-bedroom house. Do you mean like it's
Nice.
which is crazy compared to other places in the country, you know? And they're like, "Well, do you think you could afford about £300 a month?" And I was like, "Well, I went to California to compete 5 times last year." I was like, where is it not adding up? I don't understand. Yeah. Like, but they take it deadly serious. So they're literally sitting there talking to you as if you're a martial arts coach, as if you know nothing, and you just put mats down in a church hall, and you're like, man, the game's evolved since then, like, and it's super great for us because the amount I think it could evolve in the next 10 years again is just incredible.
Well, it's much more. There's a lot more that you can do. I mean, we do a lot of work with. So what? One of the guys that I work with, his brother plays cricket for Kent and England. So we do. Joe, shout out Joe Denley. We do a lot of mortgages for like cricketers. In the sort of count like jobbing professional cricketers rather than the international superstars that get paid a lot for playing in India and those the 2020 leagues. But they're on like sort of shorter contracts, so like anything from a year to 3 years, like really. So trying to get finance for those guys, it's like, oh, how old are you? How far are you into career? And it's always, what are you going to do after that? But when you talk about jiu-jitsu, you've got all those things running at the same time. So if anything, you've got like multi streams of revenue.
Oh, 100%. I don't actually think. I think there's only a few jiu-jitsu athletes that probably make their full living from competing.
Yeah, you've got seminars, you've got gym teaching, and
seminars, gyms, private lessons. Even though, like, I'm fortunate, I don't teach that many private lessons. Not because I don't want to, but because I want to commit my time to being an athlete and a coach. So I coach my classes, run my gym, and then I commit my time to being an athlete. I think splitting yourself even thinner is difficult. If you want to compete at a higher level. But I don't think many jiu-jitsu guys solely earn their income just from competition. It's really like the top percent. Do. But I don't think that's a negative thing. Getting all these younger guys to start thinking about coaching kids or developing those skill sets is important. Because you shouldn't just go into it blind. Like I never went into it blind. I've always thought like I want to compete and I'd love to compete at a high level. But like, if that doesn't pan out, then I don't want to be like 35, still living with my mum, and then wondering what I'm going to do and just go get like a 9-to-5 job in B&Q or something, So I really want to avoid that situation because it's a dangerous position you can put yourself in.
Yeah.
Do you do? So I know you're concentrating on your athletic career as such in the competitions, and it sounds like I know you are busy like all year round without the whatever's going on at the moment. But like you said, like usually once every sort of 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be doing some kind of professional, competitive, bout as such. But so you're in constant training for yourself. Is that super difficult? With I'm assuming you still do a bit of teaching in there as well. And
so I coach like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. But I'm honest. Like I'm honest, but I'm very, very fortunate in the position I'm in with my gym because a a lot of the timetable and a lot of the way we train is tailored towards, in particular, like my own personal competitions. So, like, you know, if I've got like a particular rule set come up, then kind of the whole gym will spar that rule set,
Right.
for the time frame, you know, which that's why I'm most grateful for my team, because, you know, you need your team behind you. You can only be, I always describe like your game as like, it's basically tiny little percentages of every other person you spar with, because the game that you're learning and everything you're putting together is only viable because of the person in front of you. So like my game is built off of my sparring partners. So, you know, they do spar specifically from me. You know, like when I fought Ethan, for example, they studied his back taking, and they all just did to me relentlessly. Every single person I sparred with was just trying to get to my back in the methods that he would use. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate in the fact that my gym does very much help me in my competitive career. But then we've got like a staple timetable as well, you know, for like the generic public people who would just turn up. I just want to learn jiu-jitsu as a hobby, you know, 2-3 times a week. But the competition classes are always tailored to, I think, you know, if you tailor the competition class to the guy who's kind of the highest in the competition kind of department of the gym, then again, it'll just trickle down, you know. You know, we do a lot of points. Like we do focus a lot on points sparring, and big on points sparring. I think like it develops such good jiu-jitsu because the idea of points is to negatively punish you for bad jiu-jitsu. You know, whichever way you look at it, like I don't look at points as a way of like getting a point and stalling. I look at points as a way of like you are getting punished because you failed to produce good jiu-jitsu. You know, if you get your guard passed, whether that guy stalls out, then the next 4 minutes is 3-0 ahead. It doesn't matter. It was your bad anyway. Like you performed a bad section of jiu-jitsu, you know. So I'm big on that. I think like I'm even though I compete primarily on sub-only shows, it's actually not my preferred method of jiu-jitsu because I find like the idea of sub-only is really good, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people just say sub-only is significantly more spectator friendly, and you know it's way better to watch. And I don't understand, like what's way better to watch about two guys rolling around loosely attacking submissions with like zero control? That to me isn't better jiu-jitsu either. Do you mean like, as in for me, good jiu-jitsu is good jiu-jitsu, the same as like a good game of golf is a good game of golf. Do you mean like there's bad golf, there's good golf? I've been watching an hour of jiu-jitsu every single day in lockdown. Sit down with I Zoom with a couple of the coaches and some of the purple belts and that, and we watched ADCC, we watched like Fight to Win, we watched Kasai, we watched Grapple Fest, we watched all the pro shows, everything, and then we watched Worlds, Nogi, Worlds Gi, and we're working our way through everything. And the more you sit and watch jiu-jitsu, the more you realize that there's just good matches and bad matches. There's not the best rule set or the worst rule set. There's just good matches and bad matches.
It's almost impossible to get a perfect rule set. You can't.
Of course, exactly. Like a lot of people say, like do you know the time limitless submission only is the best rule set? I mean, if you watch the Keenan versus Gordon match of 90 minutes, I can tell you it was not the best match to watch in the world. I mean, like, how do you think that is going to make the average Joe blog, like an average person who's never seen jiu-jitsu, they're going to tune in for 90 minutes to watch that?
No chance.
90 seconds, maybe.
There's no way. There's no way, you know. So, like, that's why I just think it's all about, like, that's why I enjoy point scoring and I enjoy sub only.
Because
point scoring at least gives
like
you
a definitive.
It just gives you an absolute tonight, you know.
You're trying to see you when watching you fight, you want to submit your opponent. Like, I think some people will train and like go out there with a rule set in mind. But like, so it looks like you're trying to get a submission all the time, right? Whatever rule set it is.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are some people that don't think like that.
No.
So no, obviously the way I look at it is every rule set can be manipulated. Like whichever, like there's no rule set where it cannot be manipulated, and that's the problem. Is every new show tries to come up with a new rule set
to try and eliminate that.
Yeah, within a few shows it can just get manipulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way I speak to my students a lot about it, and like, say you took 30 seconds of any given match, say like it's an 8-minute match and you just dissect any 30 seconds, I always tell them that your focus should be to win every second of the full round.
Yeah.
So if you take out 30 seconds and you look at it and you think, man, I did nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then you weren't doing good jiu-jitsu, you know? Like, I always think that if you just take any section and cut it out, it doesn't matter if you had a moment of brilliance where you passed and got 7 points. If the other 7 minutes 30 was you just stalling out in close guard,
Yeah.
well, you haven't really achieved what you set out to achieve, to me, which was just good jiu-jitsu. Because if you get to that many dominant positions, you do that much good jiu-jitsu, the submission is bound to follow, surely.
Yeah. Surely. I mean, the way I'd look at it would be, you want to put on a good performance, but you don't want to like take that 30 seconds off, like you said, but then look back on it and be like, why didn't I just try something or do something?
Exactly.
Maybe you could lose anyway.
I think a lot of sub-grapplers, they almost roll like, imagine 2 rugby teams playing each other and one rugby team only wants an interception try.
Yeah.
Like a lot of sub-grapplers, that's how they roll. They're just like, man, I'll just do whatever, and then bam, submission. You're like, how do you think you're going to get that from like bottom mount? Or they're on your back, or do you mean you've been crushed for the last 3 minutes and you're like, don't worry, because any moment now I'm going to just Houdini, boom, submission.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like,
right up to the buzzer.
It's just, that's what it's just, like, you shouldn't play with like you want to intercept for a try. You should play as if you want possession and dominance and control for the full game. Do you mean like the full match?
This is exactly like we've talked about before when discussing proactivity in sparring as well, and like trying to assert what you want to do, and like that's the same as in a competition, right? So the sort of analogy is like the white belts are going to be like this because neither of them know what they want to do. They haven't got a game plan. They don't know what it is where they want to be. But like, going in there going, I'm not just going to go there and wait for the guy to do what he wants to do. You've got to get your thing off first. So you've got to be proactive with your approach.
For sure, man. I always think like jiu-jitsu matches can be won or lost within the first 30 seconds. The first exchange could literally be the beginning to the end, because once you're on the back foot, and jiu-jitsu is one of the sports where once you're on the back foot, it can be significantly difficult, because
especially at your level.
Yeah, it's not like other sports, was it? Like, because almost every other sport, like say it's rugby, football, or whatever, basketball, if they score, you could get then you get the ball, you get your turn.
Mm-hmm.
If you get submitted in jiu-jitsu, you're out.
Yeah.
So if you start without the ball and you can never ever get possession back, then you're pretty much guaranteed to lose.
It's snooker, isn't it? It's snooker, right? So if you do a ball and they pot a red, you might not get up again.
You literally might not get over to see again. And that's the problem, is like some people obviously, they roll and they counterintuitive, they let the person like move first or react first. And I always think like you want to get off on the front foot, you want to come out and you want to get your game imposed. Like I very rarely train without like goal sets in my head. And I tell people all this all the time, like, you should train with a goal set. You should train with an idea of what you like to achieve that week, that month, that 6 months, whatever there is. But you should have an idea of where you want to be, because without that, it's very difficult to progress within jiu-jitsu. And then when you go compete, you want to compete better than you spar in the gym.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like you can't, if you don't perform in the gym like you want to compete, then you can't expect it just to come out on the stage,
I think that's amazing, right? Goal setting. So goal setting, would you translate that to people trying to improve jiu-jitsu within the gym, planning on doing some competitions, that kind of thing, working towards competition, your goal setting by turning your tempo up and this and that, and you changing from like learning potentially new knowledge to a game plan?
So the biggest thing I think is I actually I did a Zoom chat last night actually with a bunch of my students and spoke about this. But the biggest thing I think is difficult in jiu-jitsu is the fact that the idea of monitoring progress is one of the most difficult things to do, because in almost every other sport there's like there's an attainable goal, as in like you want to lift this much weight, you want to run this distance in this much time. You want to be able to make this many shots out of this many attempts. Do you mean like a lot of other sports have got definitive parameters for a goal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem jiu-jitsu has with goal setting is the fact that you are setting goals against everyone else in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like you're all running a marathon the same time, where like some people have days off, some people don't, some people train more, some people train less. Like, so to monitor yourself against all these other people where they're fluctuating as well.
Yeah.
How would you really feel if you are better or not, you know?
Yeah.
So what I tell all my students to do is that you need a goal set with the idea of your partners being like tools in a toolbox, almost like where, you know, your goal is specific to a partner, or like you're trying to achieve something on a person, because and you want that like repeatedly over a long period of time, you know, because say like I always use this example, say like I'm having a particularly good day, you know, like I've had my diet's been brilliant today, I've had excellent rest, I slept really well last night. You went to your job, you had your boss screaming in your face all day, you're super tired, you were late coming home, so you didn't eat, and you came straight to training. And then I take you for an absolute ride. You know, like I just take you down, absolutely whoop you for the full round. The problem is I could go home then, I could have that boost of confidence. I'd be like, oh man, that's brilliant because I progressed.
Yeah.
But you're monitoring off someone who's subpar.
Yes. It's dangerous.
That is exactly, that's why jiu-jitsu is super hard to monitor progress in, because you're monitoring polls, like what you're comparing yourself to, they're always moving.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
we've talked about this before, and we definitely think that, because it can be really detrimental, especially to your own mentality towards jiu-jitsu, if you're constantly measuring yourself against somebody else or a few people within the same gym. Everyone learns very differently, and
100%.
slower or faster.
I call it like I tell my students, you want to look for net gain. You know, like what you're looking for is a goal which is achievable over like maybe 3 months or something, you know, like say you want to get better at sweeps, you might pick 1 or 2 sweeps, and then say like you're a white belt and you want to get a good flower sweep, but then you keep sparring purple belts. You can do that 3 months 10 times over if you want, but you've set yourself a goal with an unobtainable end goal. I mean, like you want to achieve something that is unachievable because the tools that you're picking are the wrong tool for the job.
Yes.
You know, I always tell my students, if you're a white or blue belt, then you want to be sparring with, like, if you're a 2-tag white belt, spar with like a 1-tag white belt, 2-tag white belt, 3-tag white belt, you mean? And just keep making sure that your success rate is growing. And when it is, then start sparring a 2-tag, 3-tag, 4-tag. Success grows. Start sparring a blue belt 1-tag. Do you mean? Like, you know, you get people who are like super light, maybe, you know, like they're 50 kilos and they want to get like a bare ball back take. And then they spar someone who's 80 kilos. And you're like, what do you mean? Like, what? Like you're not like, the finish line is literally so far away for this goal because you're not giving yourself something that's achievable. And it's a fine balance, because you don't want to set goals too easy and then just beat everyone, because you're just basically inflating your own ego then. So for example, for me, like a lot of people ask me how I progress being one of the better guys in my gym, competitively, you know. And what I always tell them is, like, say Sam, I met you for the first time we sparred, I would just go, Sam, what's like, if someone in your gym said, man, if Sam gets you, you are killed. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you had a particular guard, if like they were like, oh, Sam's Delahiva is unreal, I literally go, oh, Sam, do you want to roll? You start Delahiva? Like, I would always pick
that would get in my head then. I go, oh god, he knows too much stuff. The Callum Delahiva, I don't want to be here.
Just say, none of it really.
Like, every time I go down to spar in my own gym, like I always just look at people and I go, man, these 5 guys on the mat today, like, he's wicked at wrestling, I'm gonna wrestle him. He's wicked on top, I'm gonna pull guard. He's wicked on bottom, I'm gonna take him down. Do you mean? And I just make sure that I set goals that are obtainable for me, but also difficult to achieve. And that goal setting varies for every person, because your own level, your ability, your size, your strength, like, they're all things you should take into factor when consideration when you factor your goal setting, you know, because it frustrates me that I see people get so disheartened in jiu-jitsu because they're unable to achieve their goals, you know.
It's very easy to do when you're comparing yourself to other people consistently in the gym and how your progress matches theirs. Like, because like you said, like your day, you could be having the best day in the world and someone could be having the worst day in the world. If you take, it's very kind of short-lived wins, isn't it? Like that win for that day is like, yes, I've done it.
I tell them, like, it's imagine like you wanted to monitor weight loss and you just every single day you only like that weighing you did that day, you were literally like that's all you're going off of. You're like, right, I've either lost weight today or no other day matters.
Yeah.
So like, and if you want me to lose weight by tomorrow and have a good weigh in, well, if I eat any food today, I'll sit in a hot bath and I'll be 2-3 kilos lighter, and I could inflate my ego and love it and be like, man, I've lost so much weight, this is brilliant. But that's what could happen. That's exactly what could happen in jiu-jitsu to me. And that's why I tell my guys it's that like monitoring over time. You know, just get that net worth of training, get that net gain, and look at the ability.
It's like, you know, chatting to you and other people who've spoken to about these things, like it's things that I want to know and I want to implement in my like mentality towards what I want to do, because I think a lot of people, and it's easy to do, is fall into that trap of just doing that, get into the habit and routine of just doing stuff that you like in the gym. Like I like shoulders and back, so I just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You end up with carpets.
I like playing this position, so I'll just go there because it's like it's easy for me.
One of the ways I actually got over that was actually like a year and a half ago. Is every time I drove to the gym, I thought about what I would not like to do today. And that's what I did. Every single time I was like, man, if Mafflin's there today, I'm not leg locking with him, man. I can't, I just don't want to in my life right now. I'm walking in the gym, I'm like, right, Mafflin, let's go 50-50. Do you know what I mean? Because I just force myself out of my comfort zone as much as possible, because I spoke about ego last week with my students, you know, and I think like ego can be a very bad thing in jiu-jitsu. But it can also be the best thing in jiu-jitsu, you know, because I told them that, you know, it's not about pretending you have no ego. It's about understanding that you have an ego and utilizing it so that you control it, not it controls you.
Yes.
So like it should fire you up to make you want to achieve good things and positivity. It shouldn't bring you down and create negativity within you, and then making all your sparring and all your decision making much poorer, you know. So I often tell people, I'm like, you know, sometimes you go to the gym and whatever you think in your head you don't want to do, just do, you know. But then I've gone to the gym and had a really bad day. And I thought, you know what, I just need to feel positive. So I'll pick an easier round and I'll do like berimbolos, so I can feel good about myself again, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, you can't be hard on yourself all the time, because you're meant to enjoy jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're meant to enjoy it, like.
I think that's a really good point, but I think it's very difficult if you're like a white belt and you don't get those easy rounds.
For sure.
That's probably why why it's so difficult. And because
I'm having a bad day, so I'll grab that white belt.
No, that's probably like, it's like a vicious circle in jiu-jitsu, because like say myself, Sam, and you, Nick, say we rolled, and if you'd assume that I'm a black belt, Sam's a brown belt, and you're a purple belt, that I could beat Sam. So if I beat Sam, statistically, if there was only us three on the mat, Sam would then grab you. Yeah, Sam would grab you and be like, "Oh, Nick, do you want to roll?" And then he'd just go to town on you.
Everyone's beating me. That's.
But that is the issue, you know. That's what one of the big problems I find a lot of time is the fact that it's like a vicious circle, because every time you beat someone, if that person doesn't check their ego and control it, that's now actually going to spoil someone else's day. Then their ego goes and they spoil someone else's day, and that's what can happen in a gym environment if, for example, like the coach is like overly competitive, or the vibe is negative, you know, is it can spread really fast. So like I tell people that if you're on any given day in an ideal world, you would just spar with someone you can beat, they can beat you, and it's 50-50 competitive. Yeah. Because that way your ego should get like the full fill of everything it needs.
Yeah.
I mean, you should get some pros, some cons, and you should get something that gives you that like indulgent rush of competitiveness.
I worked my way through that kind of thing, because I spent at least a couple of years getting beaten up by everybody, but then I started thinking like, okay, maybe if I can get submitted less than 7 times this round, or get, you know, if I can.
This is important. This idea of goal setting, I say to people, is like I call them mini victories.
Yeah.
So like. And I used to do it. I love telling my students about the negative things I used to do, because it's what has made me better now. Yeah. And like, you know, I always would drive home when I was 16, 17 with my brother, and we'd be like, "Oh, how many submissions did you get today?" And he'd be like, "Oh, like 10." I'd be like, "Oh, I only got 8." I'd be like, "How many times you got submitted?" He's like, "Oh, 2." And I'm like, "Oh, I got submitted 4 times." And basically in our heads, the only thing that made you good at jiu-jitsu is if you submitted people who got submitted. Yes. And that's what I try to like. nail down hard into my students straight away. And that's why I go back to the idea of that, like, just put your role into like 30-second snippets. Because if everything's good or everything's bad, you can take positive and negative, and you can just create good jiu-jitsu, you know?
Yep.
Where if in your head only the final outcomes are submission, no submission, man, all this stuff in between, you're just missing out on. You're totally missing out, you know?
Yeah.
So just give yourself brownie points for mini victories. Did you almost sweep someone that you should never sweep? Did you sweep someone that you don't usually sweep?
Yeah.
You could sweep someone, they can immediately triangle you.
Yeah.
But if you've never swept that guy in 3 years, like, that's cool. That's good, because next time you sweep him, he might submit you again, but you'll sweep him again, and then you might escape the submission. Then you'll sweep him, and he won't even get the submission. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, like, that idea of like that mini victory and goal setting is so important to you as a person, because you've got to take it seriously, because otherwise you're gonna love jiu-jitsu, and then you'll start winning, and then you'll start losing. You'll hate jiu-jitsu, and unfortunately you'll probably quit. And I hate seeing people quit jiu-jitsu, because I know what it can do for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's horrible. And when they come back, they're always like, if they come back, they're always like, I wish I'd never quit. And you're like,
every single person I've ever spoken to always says, I wish I never quit.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, you know, so I always remember my blue belt. Like, I got my blue belt with like 10 other guys, and not a single one was black belts, you know, and like, they were killers. They were absolute monsters on the mat. Life gets in the way, various things and stuff happens, but like, I always think, like, our gym's been open, established 04, so, you know, it's been open 15 years, and we've got like 8 or 10 black belts or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, if an average black belt's 10 years, and, you know, we've got like maybe a couple of hundred students, like, where's our couple of hundred black belts?
I know.
You know? And it's just a frustrating sport, because you
That's
can imagine what it could be in it. I mean, like, can you imagine every person's walked through the door and how long it's been?
Yeah.
You know? It's insane, isn't it?
It is insane. Yeah.
That is an interesting way of thinking about it as well. Like, I was one of those. I started in 2007, quit in 2010, came back again in 2015.
You'd be a black belt sitting you're talking about right now instead of.
Well, yeah. Interestingly, there's like, I think there's people that started after me that are black belts. Obviously.
No. Oh man, there's loads of guys in my gym who they're black belts now. And like, when I started, there was purple belts, and I got my black belt before they got their black belts. Do you know what I mean? It can happen, because, you know, the thing about jiu-jitsu is it's unforgiving as well, isn't it?
But again, it's one of the best things about it as well, isn't it? There's no set rules to progression, and
of course,
people do learn faster than other people.
There's no easy road, and
everyone's individual, no matter how you look at it. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The one thing I do think that jiu-jitsu needs to lighten up on is the fact that, like, although there should be a minimum requirement of like what belt levels are, like, I always say this, like, say, you know, if you take Nick Rodriguez, okay, think Nick Rodriguez walks into your gym, the athlete that he is, and then you get someone else come into your gym who's 45 and can't do a forward roll and is overweight. Like, how is putting those two guys in an equal measuring pole? How's that fair? Like, a black belt, it's you, innit? Your black belt's personal to you.
Yes.
Doing, like, I want to compete at a competitive black belt level. So if I had got my black belt and then been unable to do that, I'd been very unhappy. But somebody else might have surpassed everything they thought they could do physically. So they could be, you know, a black belt to them. You know? And that's what I think needs to happen a bit more, is that, like, people need to understand that it's okay for there to be different levels within
100%.
We're not all created equal. Not all rugby players are equal. You know,
no, exactly.
But there's still a place within the parameters of whatever you're looking at it, whether that be club hobbyist black belts or competitive level black belts. There's parameters for whether you can get into these types of tournaments anyway, or if you're a good black belt with good knowledge and teach, impart and stuff, there's a place for all this stuff, I think.
Yeah, because people could be technically absolute wizards, but just can't proficiently perform them because they're not as physically able. You know, like, you've got to take all these things into account.
Yeah, you do. It's like, you know, it's like me getting my black belt next week and then thinking that I'm on the same level as someone like yourself. It's just not. It's just not even.
You know, like, you get people come like when it comes to the competition, you get people who go like, oh, I won't compete against a lower level, or I want to compete against a higher level, or whatever. But the truth is, your level's your level. Do you mean it doesn't matter what belts around your waist? If you are physically able or not, then you aren't. Like it's that straightforward, So like because I used to do it myself. I would try and submit, like if I was a blue belt, I'd try and submit a purple belt to prove a point that I could beat a purple belt. But like when I look back, I'm just like it didn't matter that guy had a purple belt around his waist at all. No. What mattered was my ability within jiu-jitsu and his ability within jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
And that's why when I compete, I always tell myself when I compete, I'm always like, before I walk on the stage, I'm always thinking, right, basically all me and this guy are about to do is we're about to test in this 1 10-minute match or whatever it is, whose decision-making processes are the best on this day.
Yeah, today.
Because let's be honest about it, it's not like my jiu-jitsu's bad or their jiu-jitsu's bad.
Yeah.
And like it's all about we literally it's like something to give a game of chess or anything else. We're literally testing our depth of knowledge in our head of jiu-jitsu and our proficiency to perform it in this 10 minutes.
Yeah,
that's what Jamie said the other day. He fought one guy like at this sort of like national tournaments, lost all 3 times, then beat him in the Euros.
Yep.
Different days.
That one time.
I remember I lost to I beat a guy in the British finals to become British champion purple belt, and 2 months later he beat me in the Bristol Open. I was grateful, obviously, that I won the British title, which was
exactly.
I got myself British champion. But at the end of the day, if they would just switch round, I'd be Bristol Open champion, he'd be British Open champion.
Yeah.
Because it's just that day you're competing, and that's why I think people should not be as afraid to compete, because if I always tell my students, if I come home and you give me a hard time for losing, in like a negative way, I just go, well, you just go do it then.
Yeah. No one ever does though, do they?
No, that's your fear. In your head, you're thinking like,
exactly,
losing. In your head, you're like, I'm going to go home and everyone's going to be like, oh, you're a champ, blah, blah, you're like this. And it's never going to happen, because they go with you every day and they understand your ability, they understand your level. And the truth is, when for example, if I get beaten, well, realistically, that guy could come to my gym and probably beat 99% of my students as well. Do you know what I mean? Because they're definitely good at jiu-jitsu, and that's what I think when people compete, they just forget about. The fact of the matter is, I tell everyone this all the time. If you go compete, the only person who's going to care is you.
Yeah.
Because the truth about it, in 10 years' time, no one's going to care I was Polaris champion except for me.
Yeah.
I get to sit there and tell my kids a story about one day when I was Polaris champion.
Yeah.
But on the UKBJ underground, they're not going to be like, oh, remember that time that kid from 10 years ago won a Polaris title?
Someone will be going, do you remember when he got beat at the Bristol Open?
Exactly.
No one will remember that.
Exactly, because there's always going to be new news, isn't there? There's going to be new people winning stuff all the time.
Yes.
So if you win and lose stuff, at the end of the day, within a couple of years or even a couple of months, sometimes a couple of days. Like if I remember, I fought an EBI before, and I fought Gio Martinez.
Yeah.
But there was actually a Polaris in the UK as well. And literally all my newsfeed was full of UK athletes going like, can you believe Polaris last night? And I was like, man, I fought Gio Martinez last night. Yeah, but of course, that was 24 hours after, and it was as if my day had never happened. It was like, but delete that off the world because there's new news.
Chip paper, old news. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's what I think is brilliant about competing, is because you can compete as many times as you want, and you just rewriting your story over and over again, because you could lose 20 times, and that one time you create a massive upset.
That's right.
I'll only put that one on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going back to our Elizabeth Clay conversation, she went to it was the World Championships, the Nogi World Championships, won double gold. But she said the month earlier, she almost quit. She almost quit jiu-jitsu because she had such a bad tournament that she was like, I'm done with this. I can't win anything. Yeah. And the coach was like, just go and see what happens. She's like, well, I've booked it. I'll go, but I'm pretty sure I'm done after this. And then she goes and wins double gold, and it's just flipped on its head, just like that.
When I won the European Nogi for the first time ever as a brown belt, and I became ranked number 1 in the world that week. Yeah. 2 weeks after, I fought in Copenhagen, and I got no arm triangle by a guy in tap-out shorts.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I was literally on cloud 9. I was like, I'm unbeatable, man. No one, I am going to win everything from this day on now. I'm not going to lose again.
Number 1.
Yeah. And then literally, I just passing his guard, just because I was just so blasé. I just didn't take the guy seriously.
Yeah.
And,
So you were like,
yeah, I did. I literally looked at him. He had to borrow his like teammates' shorts because he had wrong shorts, and like he did a rash guard. I was like, this guy was like, it's the first time I competed for like 3-4 years, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have a walk over now. It's be brilliant. And just got no, I'm in triangled. And I was like, if that's one lesson you ever want to learn, it's that's how to learn it, though, you know.
Yeah,
like literally, it was on cloud 9 one day. 2 weeks later, man, I felt like as bad as it possibly could have felt.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's never happening to me again, man. I'm never underestimating my opponent.
Yeah.
I'm going out there every time with the intention of doing the best I can do because, but this is why I want people to compete, because these are lessons you can never get in a gym.
That's right.
The one lesson I learned from Copenhagen, right, is the ticketing for the train to get to the airport, right? I got a fine on there for €200 for buying the wrong routes on the thing. I never paid it. I just thought, well, you're not going to find me. Then I went and bought a burger and chips in the airport, and it was £26 for a burger and chips. And I said to the guy, "Are you having a laugh?" And he went, "It's Denmark, man."
Yeah.
Wow. Most expensive place I've ever been to.
They're mad. Some of those European countries are mad expensive. I remember competing in some of those countries, and I was like, man, I really need to eat chicken and salad because I want to eat something good before I compete. But I was like, but this like stale piece of bread is like something I can afford. So I was like, it is it, you know.
But when you go and compete around the world, do you have to fund that yourself? Do you have to fund?
Yeah,
especially like bigger ones like EBIs, things like that.
So a lot of the pro tournaments, for example, like EBI and all that, they pay for my flight, pay for my flight, and like they'll give me like 2 or 3 nights in a hotel.
Yeah, nice.
Or usually I want to go like 10 days before because I want to get like acclimatized and feel good and get comfortable in the environment.
Yeah, because you fought. This is another question because you fought in Mexico City. How was that? Because we never get that in this country ever.
Every person I tell, if you are going to go compete at altitude, go at least 10 days before, because I literally was walking up the stairs to my hotel room on day 2 and I had to stop.
Oh, God.
I had to stop. I was like, this is unbelievable. I could not believe how hard it hit my body. Wow. And everyone thinks it's just such like a trivial thing, but man, it's just not, you know. But like for that trip, for example, it cost me probably a couple of £1,000 because I wanted to go early. I wanted to fly someone out with me to train with me for 10 days before I competed. So I say to a lot of people, you know, like now it's cool because I teach seminars and I can earn a bit of money to teach. But if there was a balance sheet of how much I've invested in myself compared to how much I've earned, I'm probably still indebted to myself, you know, like I like literally I came out of university, I saved all my student loans that I got given, and I spent them all within the first year to compete. You know, around the UK, around the world, you know, like, and a lot of people don't see that, you know, they think, oh, he's traveling, like the time he must have paid. I'm telling you, they did not. They didn't, you know. Like I've been fortunate where like Polaris obviously have paid me to compete, and EBI and Kasai. The Kasai the first time didn't actually fly me out, you know. The second time I flew my tournament, Kasai flew me out. But the first time I made my own way there, paid for all my own hotels.
Wow.
I say that I've told the story loads of times, but I was actually really fortunate. Frank Rosenthal really actually wanted a match against me, so offered to sell my spectator tickets.
Oh wow, that's so nice.
Yeah, so I would never have fought on Kasai if it wasn't for Frank Rosenthal. Like I literally would not. He messaged me personally. He was like, "Oh, do you fancy a match on Kasai if you've heard of it?" And I was like, "Man, I would love to." Kasai, like, it's amazing. It's brilliant. I was like, "Do you know who they were thinking about matching me with?" And he was like, "Well, me." And I was like, "What?" I was like, I looked at his page and I was like, "Damn, this guy's been winning so much things." You know? I was like, "This is gonna be super tough." But I was like, I can't say no. And then I read the contract, and I messaged Horace Gracie. He was like, "No, Frank will sell your portion of tickets so you can compete." Which is mad, you know, because again, like, even like cool. Eddie Bravo, the first time he gave me a chance on EBI, it was because like 300 people messaged Instagram, and he just said, "Do you want to come and compete on EBI?" And I was like, "What? No, this can't be happening to me, man." And then Frank messaged me to get me on Kasai. I mean, like, so you know, I was super grateful for a lot of the opportunities people have given me, you know, and that's why I always got that. Like when I go compete, I always got the just go and just, you know, just put it all out there and compete. And don't know if you win or lose, just be entertaining, because people will speak about you afterwards.
That is one thing you definitely are. It's fun to watch.
I do think, you know, like I haven't added it up, but I think over like the last 20 matches I've had like fight of the night like 10 times or something.
Yeah.
You know, like I try to be as exciting as possible. And to be fair, the best part about it is the fact that the other person in the match as well makes it up. I mean, that's exactly what they're there for. You know, me and that other person are what's creating the performance. And the truth is, if I'd lost a few of the matches that I had won, like, the entertainment value alone, I think, would have got me back on that show. You know, when I lost the first CBI, and I said to Eddie, I was like, look, Eddie, I'm really sorry. I can't believe you put faith in the UK kid to come out here, and I've gone and lost first round. Yeah. And he was literally like, that was fight of the night. You'll be back next show, no problem. And like true to his word, he literally messaged me next time. He was like, do you want on? And I was like, this is mad. Yeah. And then I lost again, and then he invited me again.
Oh man, but that, especially the second loss, like that. I mean, it was such a tight margin.
You know, when I lost to Alexis in Mexico, like that actually got, I think I fight night because Gio and Eddie, but it got ranked like third match of all eBay matches, you know. So again, I just think like performance can get you, even without the win or loss, you know, performance can get you places maybe.
Well, you just look at like Lachlan Giles in the ADCC. You know, like you know, a few matches, but one performance per se in a tournament, and that's like, you know, put him up into a different category.
Yeah, really. I speak to my coach about that all the time. I'm like, look, boys, like, I'm literally one performance away from going, you know, like, if I had beaten Zhao Miao in Kasai and then won the title, like, overnight my life could have changed, you know. I go to ADCC, I create an upset. Overnight my life could change, you know. But that's why I'm willing to compete and put it out there all the time, because I won't stop trying just because I lose a match here and there. Because I lock up with these guys and I can feel like I can beat them. I know I can rival their jiu-jitsu. So it's just a case of that one day when we show up and we put all our cards on the table, mine are going to be better one day, and that day is when my life's going to change overnight, you know. So that's what I'm putting my faith into, is the fact that my hard work will pay off.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Who would you choose, right? Who you haven't fought yet? You've got some amazing names on your resume. Who haven't you fought that you'd like to?
Currently, the dream matchup for me would be, I'd love to fight Johnny Gripple. I'd love to fight Junie. The 10th, Keith Kokorian. Basically, all the guys who did ADCC or who are considered some of the best in my division. But I either haven't fought. For example, like I was super excited about having the Gio match back. I personally felt like that was going to go different this time around. I'm, like, as an athlete, like, everything about me is different from the first time I fought him. So I'm really excited about testing myself against those guys again. But the reason I want guys like Gianni and stuff like that is because they've been around forever. They're brilliant at what they do, but I just believe they're beatable guys. You know? Like, you know, people say like all the time, "Oh, why don't you fight Nicky Ryan?" I'm like, when will you fight Nicky Ryan? Man, like it's not like it's not a win-lose or win-win or lose-lose situation for me. It's a really hard one, because like every time someone fights, I'm like, oh, this kid Nicky Ryan is 17. He is unbelievable at jiu-jitsu, full stop. Like when I fought Riotolo, he's young. But man, he is unbelievable at jiu-jitsu, full stop. Like Tanquinho's 37. What if I lose to him? Am I losing to an old man? I don't understand. Like they are elite at jiu-jitsu.
That's
you know?
right.
Tanquinho would actually be another one that I'd love to have a match against, because I'd actually like to try and wrestle him, which I don't think a lot of other people try.
No.
You know, it might go very badly for me, but I hand on heart, I will try to take him down. Which a lot of other people will refuse to try. But to me, like,
I would like to.
I would love to watch that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know like a few people mentioned to me. They said like, "Oh, I'd be wicked to watch like you and Gary Torn or something," you know, because
definitely.
But like, I always respond to that with, I think Gary would just kill me. So. I want matches where I'm at my station, but I very much believe I'm going to win. Because I'm still at that point in my career where I think a few more wins would solidify me enough that I could continue to demand those matches. I think if I had 2-3 losses in a row, I potentially would drop down the if it was like an MMA card, you'd go down to the undercard or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And I spent my whole life working towards trying to be a main event.
Yeah.
You know, I've still been a main event in Polaris, for example. I'd like to be main event in Polaris.
Yeah.
You know, because once you're main event, you're not going to go bottom of the card then, are you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
That's what I want. I want to be in a position where I'm getting called onto these shows because they want to see my jiu-jitsu and they believe I compete at that level, you know?
Yeah. Did you have anything booked in for this year to go and do that's now been cancelled because of the COVID crisis?
I'm out so much career and financially from Corona so far because my AJ match got cancelled.
Yeah.
My Geo match got cancelled.
Yeah.
And then I was going to head out to Australia to do some seminars. That's obviously all cancelled. I had another 2 matches as well, but they were both cancelled. Their match against Ken Corkle in the UK. I had a wicked run, you know. Like I fought Rio Tolo and he was the first one of the year, and that was actually like it was a bit like putting my toes in the water. I always find after Christmas like I like Rio Tolo's not a tune-up match, which it's not the match to get me going for the year. Do you know what I mean? So like I wanted the Rio Tolo match back at some point in the year. There was talks of me fighting Jordan Hawley on that Third Coast Grappling card.
Oh, cool.
You know, so like I had a lot of big things planned, and I feel like it's put a big halt in like, but not for a lot of athletes. It's not a case of putting a halt on, you know, you're not being able to compete and earn money and stuff. It's the momentum of your career.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I was on road, I believe, to get in a spot on ADCC. You know, I wanted to get into ADCC. Yeah. So we were taking all the matches we could, and it was all about the ADCC trials. So we weren't actually spend as much time prepping individually for people. We were just taking matches to keep me active. Yeah. And with the hope that we were just going for the ADCC trials, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. You know, it's put a massive dampener on the momentum of the year. And obviously the big issue is the fact that America have already started back up and they're doing pro shows.
Yeah, that's right.
So the longer we are kept back, if we're running a marathon now, I'm not even jogging. I'm literally standing still and they're going and going and going.
That's right.
So like, and then what are people just going to expect me to answer a phone call off Casa going, oh, do you want to fight this guy on Casa like 2 weeks time? When like my gym has just opened back up today. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a very, very difficult position to be in. So I'm not going to rush anything, but I would like to be active, you know. So as soon as I'm able to, if Polaris do like a closed door event maybe, I just want to compete. Oh, Tom Halpin's another big guy that I would very much like to compete against. You know, he off the back of the combat jiu-jitsu win, and he won the ADCC trials. Yeah. So, I think it's a competition between me and him. I say so a lot about the UK guys. You know, like we've got to get over the idea of being the best in the UK.
Yeah.
Like we've just got to stop going like, oh, who do you think is best in London?
Yeah.
Who do you think is best is up north? Like, look, like we've got some good competitors. Let's push them to the world stage. Let's push them up and get them in like the flow rankings. Let's get them competing on pro shows.
Yeah,
let's give them the opportunities they deserve, you know, because we've got some insane talent.
Yeah.
But yet, I'll still get messaged every month doing a match against Ross Nichols. Like, why don't me and Ross go fight like Keith Kikorian and Boogeyman? Like, why don't we go compete against other people and draw attention to the fact that UK are producing athletes, as opposed to all the UK guys sitting around watching me and Ross Nichols battle it out.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I think that's what the UK need to kind of push forward with now and that's probably the next stage, the development of the UK, you know, is that we start looking outwards and stop looking inwards.
Yeah, I think so. Sure. I think it's I think that's the way to look at it. Getting names out there. I love seeing you guys like fight on the world stage. It's so exciting.
Oh well, that's it. When I tune in to watch other UK guys fight world level athletes, and when they win, I love it. You know, I love watching people win. Would I prefer for me to be winning? Yeah. But no other athlete would answer differently to that question, you know. Yeah. But do I love seeing UK talent proving that we can do it on the world stage?
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there. But that was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us. That's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries. It was fun, man. It was way more casual than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if you guys have
super casual, man.
But like, No, I like I ask my students all. Talk to my students like loads. I'm all about psychology and jiu-jitsu, and I say to them like, sometimes you're best off just talking aloud and saying something, because you might find information out that you never knew you wanted to find out anyway.
Oh, yeah. Every time you do this, like definitely today, like it's like we're like you said at the beginning, we are just jiu-jitsu geeks and nerds. Like we are the
plebs.
Yeah, we want to extract this stuff we want to chat to you about, and that's cool. We'll try and extract the information, find out things, and this and that, and you know that's all we're doing. We just want to chat and.
It's cool you're doing it, man. I think it's wicked. Like I'm not big. I don't listen to that many podcasts myself and that, but I know there's loads of people who love them. And at the end of the day, sometimes you haven't got the time to sit and or get hold of the actual person you want to speak to, you know. And you know, you might just have a long journey on your or you want to chill in the house, whatever, not watch TV, and it's just a good opportunity to listen to a bunch of guys ramble on, and again, you might just find information out that you never knew.
This is what we do, like after the gym or whatever with each other. So to chat to like people like you and Jamie the other day, and like this is just like privilege for us to get to.
No, it's cool. I appreciate people who are again just elevating the sport of jiu-jitsu in the UK. You know, it's just so wicked. Like same as like Raspberry podcast and all the others. You know, like it's just an opportunity for athletes to get more exposure.
Yeah, and they get their voice out there, like have something to say.
Definitely. You know, I always think about the post-fight speeches. Like every time I compete, I'm so adrenaline full. I can't watch my my after-match speech back. I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what are you doing? Like the last time I did it, I looked at my corner, bro. I was like, don't do something stupid now. He's like, chill out, calm down. Like, come on. Like, because I just can't, like, I'm so pumped after a match. It's incredible, you know. So the chance to talk to people in like a calmer environment, you know, is way easier. It's way more fun.
It's awesome.
Do you have any shout outs, any sponsors that you want to mention, or?
No, just I love Tammy Fightwear as always. They've just been with me for I don't know however long, but it's been 10 plus years or something, and it's always just my family. Like I always like I don't understand an athlete who can make it without a support network. And for all the athletes out there, if you do make it without a support network, like you've done something incredible, because it's so difficult. You know, like my wife, my brother's wife, and all my immediate family stuff. You know, like they understand that I can't go to those family meals, and they don't give me a hard time about like not being able to turn up for this and that and being on a diet and you know, it's just, I know this seems so trivial, but like it's for every athlete, I know how much they've sacrificed and how much they're going to miss in every day-to-day life. Like, for example, most athletes haven't got a big group of friends because, like I said, I left uni 7 years ago and I haven't spoken to a single person I lived with. I lived with 5 people for 3 years. But, you know, every time they message me, they're like, oh, do you want to go for a beer? I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm going training. Oh, do you want to go for a beer? Oh, sorry, I'm flying to America to compete. Do you want to hang out and do this? I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm doing this. You know, so I understand what it means. And like, I just I love the fact I got a support network around me.
Yeah. Well, it's been an absolutely pleasure talking to you. It's been so good. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Yeah, cheers. Hopefully
thanks, guys. Yeah, cheers, boys. Love to spend some time with Matt soon.
Yeah, it was love to. Yeah, awesome.